The dolorous passion and death of our Lord Jesus Christ. Chapter 50. Jesus crucified. The two thieves. The terrible concussion caused by the shock when the cross was let fall into the hole prepared for it drove the precious blood in rich streams from Jesus' thorn-crowned head and from the wounds of his sacred feet and hands. The executioners now mounted ladders and loosened the cords with which they had bound the sacred body to the trunk of the cross, in order to prevent its tearing away from the nails when raised. The blood, whose circulation had been checked by the tightly bound cords and the horizontal position of the body, now with new force, owing to the loosening of the cords and the upright position, resumed its course. Jesus' torments were, in consequence, redoubled. For 7 minutes he hung in silence as if dead, sunk in an abyss of untold pain, and for some moments unbroken stillness reigned around the cross. Under the weight of the thorny crown, the sacred head had sunk upon the breast, and from its countless wounds the trickling blood had filled the eyes, the hair, the beard, and the mouth, open, parched, and languishing. The sacred face, on account of the immense crown, could be uplifted only with unspeakable pain. The breast was widely distended and violently torn upward. The shoulders were hollow and frightfully stretched, the elbows and wrists dislocated, and the blood was streaming down the arms from the now enlarged wounds of the hands. Below the contracted breast, there was a deep, hollow place, and the entire abdomen was sunken and collapsed, as if shrunken away from the frame. Like the arms, the loins and legs were most horribly disjointed. Jesus' limbs had been so violently distended, his muscles and the torn skin so pitifully stretched, that his bones could be counted one by one. The blood trickled down the cross from under the terrible nail that pierced his sacred feet. The whole of the sacred body was covered with wounds, red swellings and scars, with bruises and boils, blue, brown, and yellow, and with bloody places from which the skin had been peeled. All these wounds had been reopened by the violent tension of the cords, and were again pouring forth red blood. Later the stream became whitish and watery, and the sacred body paler. When the crusts fell off, the wounds looked like flesh drained of blood. In spite of its frightful disfigurement, our Lord's sacred body presented upon the cross an appearance at once noble and touching. Yes, the Son of God, the Eternal sacrificing himself in time, was beautiful, holy, and pure in the shattered body of the dying Paschal Lamb, laden with the sins of the whole human race. Mary's complexion was a beautiful bright olive tinged with red, and such also was that of her divine Son. By the journeys and fatigue of his later years, his cheeks below the eyes and the bridge of his nose were somewhat tanned. His chest, high and broad, was free from hair, unlike that of John the Baptist, which was like a skin quite covered with hair. Jesus had broad shoulders and strong, muscular arms. His thighs also were provided with powerful, well-marked sinews, and his knees were large and strong, like those of a man that had traveled much on foot and knelt long in prayer. His limbs were long, the muscles of the calves strongly developed by frequent journeying and climbing of mountains. His feet were very beautiful and perfect in form. Though from walking barefoot over rough roads, the soles were covered with great welts. His hands, too, were beautiful, his fingers long and tapering. Though not effeminate, they were not like those of a man accustomed to hard work. His neck was not short, though firm and muscular. His head was beautifully proportioned and not too large, his forehead high and frank, his whole face a pure and perfect oval. His hair, not exceedingly thick and of a golden brown, was parted in the middle and fell in soft tresses down his neck. His beard, which was rather short, was pointed and parted on his chin. But now his hair was almost all torn off, and what was left was matted with blood. His body was wound upon wound. His breast was crushed, and there was a cavity visible below it. His body had been stretched asunder, and the ribs appeared here and there through the torn skin. Over the projecting bones of the pelvis, the sacred body was so stretched in length that it did not entirely cover the beam of the cross. The cross was somewhat rounded in the back, but flat in front, and hollowed out in the necessary places. The trunk was about as wide as it was thick. The several pieces of which the cross was formed were of different colored wood, some brown, some yellow, the trunk darker than the rest, like wood that had lain a long time in water. The crosses of the thieves were rougher. They stood on the edge of the little eminence, to the right and left of Jesus' cross, and far enough from it for a man to ride on horseback between them. They were somewhat turned toward each other, and not so high as the Lord's. The thieves looked up to Jesus, one praying, the other jeering, and Jesus said something down from his cross to Dismas. The aspect of the thieves on the cross was hideous, especially that of the one to the left, who was a ferocious, drunken reprobate. They hung there distorted, shattered, swollen, and bound fast with cords. Their faces were livid, their lips brown from drink and confined blood, their eyes red, swollen, and starting from their sockets. They yelled and shrieked under the pressure of the cords. Dismas cursed and reviled. The nails in the crosspiece forced their heads forward. They writhed convulsively, and in spite of the hard twisting around the wooden peg of the cords that bound their legs, one of them worked his foot up so that the bent knee stood out.